Today we're heading to Phyrexia, all will be one standard to poison and proliferate some fools out of the game. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition, and our first Phyrexia All Will Be One edition of Budget Magic. And boy do we have a sweet one this week. We are heading to our new standard format to play Blue-Black Poison Proliferate Control, a deck that looks a little bit weird and janky, but it plays in a really fun way, and it's actually like kind of good. Plus, it's super cheap, $62 in paper, 13 total rares and mythics on Magic Arena, and even that's kind of deceptive because more than half of those, 8 of those rares are mana based, just to like be able to cast our spells. So if you already got the rare lands for standard, this deck is super easy to put together. So let's talk about the deck, what it's trying to do, jump into some games, see it in action. So we start with the only 2 creatures in our deck. In our deck, it's trying to do kind of one thing. It really needs to give our opponent a poison counter, 1 poison counter. The first one's super important. And then we proliferate a bunch of times until our opponent gets 10 and dies. So we tick up the poison proliferate clock. Venser and Voidwing hybrid work really well with both parts of the deck. They have Toxic 1, so they come down early, can get that first poison counter. If they stick out, they can get more than 1 poison counter, which is always nice. But they also work with proliferate. When we proliferate, Venser can make a 3/3 or give it lifelink and flying. Voidwing hybrid comes back from the graveyard to make it a nice recursive threat or recursive blocker. So these are the only creatures in our deck. We also have 2 sources of direct poison counter damage in Prologue of Phyrexia and Infectious Inquiry. So these are just card draw spells that have the bonus of giving our opponent a poison counter. So if we can't get that first poison counter with Voidwing hybrid or Venser, we can do it directly with a spell, and then we start the proliferating. Once we get that first poison counter, so many of our removal spells and counter spells and card draw spells just happen to also proliferate, so they're ticking up the poison on our opponent, getting them closer to death. Experimental Augury, Anticipate, that also proliferates. Rejected Perfection, a cancel that also can proliferate. Drowned Anchor, a good removal spell that also proliferates. So we're just doing what we want to do anyway, counter our opponent's stuff, draw our cards, kill our opponent's stuff, and we're ticking up those poison counters, getting our opponent closer to being poisoned out of the game. Then we have some corrupted cards, which also work really well with what the deck's trying to do. They're fine if our opponent has no poison counters, but then they become great once we get 3 poison counters on our opponent. Anoint with Affliction exiles a cheap creature, then it exiles any creature once our opponent's corrupted. Bring the Ending, kind of a bad mana leak that turns into a better counter spell, like literal counter spell but upgraded once our opponent's corrupted. Distort Curiosity, a divination that turns into a 1 mana draw 2 once our opponent's corrupted. And then 1 Shieldred's Edict, just in case we gotta kill a planeswalker or whatever. Then we have our big finisher, Vraska Betrayal Sting, the 1 mythic in our deck. And Vraska is just the perfect finisher for this deck. It comes down and proliferates, and if it sticks around, it proliferates again. So really good with our proliferate the poison counter plan. It's a good removal spell, and we can potentially play Vraska and proliferate with other cards to get up to the ultimate, give our opponent 9 poison counters, and then any single proliferate or direct poison spell or toxic creature is gonna win the game. Mana base, this is where most of our wild cards are, honestly, as far as rares. For the 8 dual lands, if you have the Innistrad dual land, you can play that over one of these. It doesn't really matter, but you really do need the untapped dual lands. Tap lands would slow down the deck way too much, I think. So play whatever dual lands you have, but try to make them untapped. Sideboard wise, Scheming Aspirant, really cool in this deck. It comes in against aggro as a 2 mana 1/3, but then when we proliferate, we drain for 2. So it's a great way to keep our life total high. I don't really like it in the main deck because we're not going to win with damage most likely. So it's a little awkward in the main deck, but out of the sideboard against aggro, really good. Then we have a bunch of duresses and counters for control, a bunch of removal for aggro, and that is Blue-Black Poison Proliferate Control. That's our Budget Magic deck for this week. So let's jump into some games and see if we can poison opponents out with Venser and Voidwing and a bunch of weird poison damage. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap-up. Need some Phyrexia All Will Be One cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/MTG Goldfish. Budget Magic time. Phyrexia is here, and we are doing some proliferate controlling in our new standard format. And well, I mean, we got the prologue, so we're good. We can get that poison counter, which is the opponent's getting aggro, which is the most important poison counter. Yeah, let's just pass. We can pass if we have to. We encounter something. If we don't need to counter, Yeah, that's good enough to counter, I think. Boom. It gets in and hits us. Yeah, let's just pass. So opponent's got to be some sort of modified deck. We're going to need to hit some removal. Some removal that's faster than Vraska. All right, down to 15. Opponent. Oh, that's painful. Play the land. Yeah, let's run out the hybrid. At least it's a blocker. Pass the turn. Opponent. Lightning strikes our face, down to 12. Not a lot of life. Opponent goes to combat. Opponent attacks. I think we have to block, unfortunately. Down to 11. Ooh, bloated content. Okay, removal. We need removal. Oh, Drowning Ichor. Okay, Drowning Ichor works. That does work. So play the land. Get rid of Contaminator. Proliferate you. 3 poison counters. We get back the Voidwing Hybrid. How greedy are we? You know what? Let's go to 8. Let's do it. Infectious Inquiry, draw 2. Give you a poison counter down to 8. What does our opponent have? This is the scary turn. This is the scary turn. Quirion Breeze Crawler. Opponent hits us down to 7 and passes. We'll play the land. Full price Vraska. Treasure you. Although turning this into a treasure gives our opponent mana, which could mean Thundering Raju and us dying. Halana and Elena. Okay, that's also not great. Opponent grows a Phoenix Chick, hits us down to 4. Well, okay. Treasure Halana and Elena. Play a Venser. Play a land. Voidwing Hybrid. Voidwing Hybrid. Down to 3. That's lightning strike range. Opponent plays a land. Quirion Beast Collar. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That doesn't beat us. Oh, down to 2. Not a lot of life. Not a lot of life. Actually, no, we block and block. Get rid of the Phoenix Chick. Take up Vraska. Proliferate. Make a dork. Get back our hybrids. Wow, this is gonna be so close. Another Vraska. Opponent's at 5 poison? Keep the new, wow, this is so close. Keep the new Vraska. Treasure the Beast Caller. Vraska's felt really good. Get in with Venser to gain a life. Oh, it all comes down to this turn. It all comes down to this turn in this draw. What do they find? Oh my goodness, good thing we attacked. Okay, we drop back to 1. Not dead yet. Oh boy, a proliferation spell to get lifelink here would be huge. Passes. That's a proliferation spell. Experimental. Wow, are we gonna pull this off? Experimental Augury. Proliferate. Grab a counter spell. Counter to Vraska. Venser. Give the dork lifelink. Treasure you. Wow, Vraska's been absurd. Opponent's up to 6. They're at 20 life, but they're at 6 poison. Go to combat. Gain back some life. Back up to 5. Voidwing Hybrid. Voidwing Hybrid. Go. And I think we got it. I think we got it. I cannot believe we won this game. Proliferate power. Proliferate power. Opponent, it's just a land. It's just a land, and that should do it. Sheoldred's Edict. Oh, we clicked the wrong one. Okay, oops. Treasure you. It doesn't really matter. We still just have lethal here. We meant to Edict, but we can treasure, and that is a toxic kill, and it worked. Whew, that was good. That was good. That was real good. Maybe this deck can work. Can poison control actually be a thing? That was a tough matchup too. Our opponent had an aggro start, and we are able to stabilize. That really showed the power of Vraska. That was the Vraska power, I think. Like, we got to see Vraska treasure 5 things or something. It essentially just kept us in that game. We would love to get the poison counter before we start proliferating, but we might not have the chance. We'll see. We will see. Dark Soul Shores go. I mean, I guess we can also like, ooh, that's good. Let's get down the hybrid. That's a way to get a poison counter maybe. And then we have like the turbo proliferate hand, Gwenna. Okay, that's fine. So get in, hit ya, poison ya, kill the Gwenna, proliferate ya, poison counter number 2. Play the land, pass the turn. land. Archfiend of Euros. And pass the turn. Don't want to proliferate on this. Wow, can we make our opponent die to their own Archfiend? That would be kind of hilarious. This Voidwing hybrid's gonna do work. This does not have trample, so we can just keep getting this back in our hand. Yeah, we'll block with the hybrid. Lose 2. And, okay. Proliferate. Anticipate. Yeah, let's take the Drowned Ichor. We could potentially double Drowned Ichor. Poison counter number 3. Get back the Voidwing. Experimental Augury. Underground River. Proliferate. Untap. Pay the Swamp. We're at 18. All right, let's draw a couple cards. Replay the Voidwing. Pass the turn. All right, opponent kills the Voidwing. We get drained. I mean, next turn we can double Drowned Ichor. If our opponent has a follow-up, it's pretty bad for us. We drop to 8. Oh, this is a huge turn. What do they have? If we get to untap here without another threat, we're in good shape. Okay, opponent passes, so we get to play Underground River. We Drown Ichor the Demon. Proliferate. And get back the Voidwing. And we Drowned Ichor the Demon. Proliferate. Opponents up to 7. And now we're just gonna play it safe and pass. We have Counterspell in hand, like literal Counterspell, hard counter. And then hopefully we untap and just get there with these Voidwings. Or draw like one more Proliferate spell. Okay, so this demon, better than I thought. Even just from right there, that is way scarier than I thought. Untap. Voidwing hybrid. Voidwing hybrid. And technically this is lethal poison next turn. 7 little drops of oil, go for the throat. You know what, that's fine. This does mean we don't have lethal this turn, but I think it's worth it. Prologue you up to 8. Any Proliferate spell is lethal. Ooh. Well, go to combat. Infectious Inquiry also works. Like almost all of our cards, once our opponent gets that first poison counter, almost every card we cast is giving our opponent another poison counter. Up to 9, Infectious Inquiry. That should be the last one. Oh, Poison Control. Okay. Wait, is this like busted? This is one of those plans that like on paper, when I put the deck together, I was like, looks like it could kind of work. Like I can see where this is going. We got some good things going on, but in practice, it has felt absurd. Like our cards are good anyway, and they're also all giving our opponent, ooh, Justin Purnell. What's up, Justin? Our cards are good anyway, and they're also all just randomly giving our opponent poison counters, which is ridiculous. Well, let's see if we can keep it going. And this deck is super cheap too. On Arena and in paper, it's like under 15 rares, it's like $60. Maybe? Did we break it? Did we break it? Early access day, already broke it. Yeah, Island go. Well, let's see what our friend Justin's up to. Darkslick Shores. Well, we will play a land and yeah, I think we get our Voidwing down. Opponent, Darkslick Shores, Scheming Aspirant. Get in that first poison counter, play the land, pass the turn. So this looks like a Proliferate deck. We're not playing Scheming Aspirant in our deck. We're all about the poison. Opponent passes, I'll go to combat. Island, pass the turn. This next poison counter is a big one. Sure. The next poison counter is a big one because would you like to add a poison counter to yourself? Please. You know what, I think we actually counter this. Because then we get to Proliferate. And that's the third poison counter, which turns on Distorted Curiosity and such. Opponent gets in, hits us. This is going to be close. Are we getting out proliferated? Drowned Ichor is actually pretty good. Play the land. Distorted Curiosity. Opponent is corrupt. Hit ya. Experimental Augury. Yeah, gonna keep on proliferating. We are gonna have to kill this Aspirant at some point because it is this draining's adding up. Yeah, let's see if we can Drowned Ichor and proliferate you. Threat dealt with. Pass the turn. Opponent's up to 5. 5 poison counters, and we do have the hard counter in hand and bring the ending. Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll get it back. And yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think we want to spend our poison counter on it. Another counter, eh? Well, Distorted Curiosity. Oh boy, those were bad. Not the draws we were looking for. Tap lane go. Yeah, that's not great. Gets in, hits us. We really need, like, to anticipate. If we can find our own experimental augury, any of our card draw, a way to proliferate, gets back the Void Wing. We have many good, oh, yes, that is, our Vraska would be good. We would love to draw our Vraska. Okay, prologue. Oh, into even more lands. I mean, opponent's up to 6, but we are just flooding. Well, past the turn. We're like one good draw away from potentially closing out the game. Opponent, combat. Poison 2, down to 12. Opponents hit way more experimental auguries and way less lands. Distorted Curiosity, okay. Draws a couple cards. Distorted Curiosity, okay. I mean, this is the kind of turn we need to have. We kind of did that. We just drew into all lands. Void Wing Hybrid. Well, I mean, we're gonna thin the deck here. Thin the deck, thin the deck. Opponents, we're so close. We're one card draw effect away from being able to win this game. Potentially. Oh, okay, that's card draw effect, Infectious Inquiry. Land, Vraska. Draw a card, Proliferate. Oh, get back the Void. This is the big turn. This is a big turn. Do we die? We're at 7. Can they kill us? If not, the Vraskas should be able to get there. Oh, this is so close. That's 2 more poison counters. The fact that they're thinking about it makes me think we're not just straight up dead. Down to 4. Up to 5 poison. Plays a land. Passes. So, take up Vraska. Proliferate. Hit you to 9. For 2 life. Keep it. We didn't think this through. Okay. We almost killed ourselves. Phyrexia mana is risky. There's a bit of a punt there. We played the Vraska for life, which put us to 1, which meant that we couldn't proliferate with Vraska without dying. Thankfully, we had the Drowned Innicker. Opponent's trying to do something similar. So the weird thing, opponent's got a similar plan to us. Not sure about this Scheming Aspirant. I feel like our opponent fell a little bit into the old Infect trap where they were kind of killing us twice, and they played this Scheming Aspirant that dealt like 8 damage or something, but then they kind of shifted gears to being a poison deck. I'm really not sure. I don't know. I don't have Scheming Aspirant in this deck. I would maybe play in the sideboard for like aggro matchups in best of 3. Let me know what you think. Is Scheming Aspirant worth it? But good news is another win for poison control. Budget magic time. We are playing some more blue-black poison control, proliferate control, human token, eh? I wonder what those names mean. All right, opponents on the play. Brushland and okay, doing Rot Priest stuff, eh? Well, Island go. Well, scary. Is this just like green-white toxic? Is the answer to poison proliferate control just being toxic? Oh no, we don't have an answer to that. This might be one where you see the losing the die roll is a big deal. Because if we were on the play, we could have countered this and our opponent's draw would not be very scary. As it is, we're taking a lot of poison and we just do not, we have a handful of counters that can't kill these things. Skrelv's Hive. Well, I mean, we got to counter that. Distorted Curiosity. It is not looking good. Play the land. Yeah, I mean, I think we're dying. Oh, no removal. Okay. We are dead in 2 turns to poison. Should not have lost that die roll. Opponent gets in, hits us. Down to 9. Well, it's good to see green-white poison working. Passes. Anoint with Affliction. Is that going to save us? Play the land. Well, I think we're still just dead. Pass the turn. So we can, like, Anoint with Affliction to get rid of this, but we're going to take a counter from the Rot Priest, and then we're going to go up to 9 poison. So this means we're just dead to any targeted spell, and we can't cast another removal spell. Yeah, we really Hopefully we get a rematch against that deck. I do think aggro can be challenging, but the way our hand lined up with our opponent's draw, we were just too slow being on the draw. If we were on the play and countered the 2-drop, I think we win that game pretty easily. But since we were on the draw and our opponent went 1-drop, 2-drop, we couldn't stop the 2-drop, and our hand was counters rather than removal. That one just didn't work out. Although it was cool to see green white toxic actually do a thing. Curious if that deck's actually good. Budget magic time. Doing some more poisonous proliferate controlling, and on the draw, I mean, this hand's okay. We don't have any early poison counters. I guess Infectious Inquiry is a poison counter eventually, but oh boy. This is an instant replay. Opponent plays a tap land, gets in for 1. Passes, we'll play the land, pass the turn. The question's gonna be, can we deal with the Rot Priest? Opponent gets in, hits us. Thinking about playing something, doesn't know if it's worth tapping out. I mean, I think we gotta go for it. I assume it has some sort of protection spell. Yeah, this will be interesting. The Venerated Rot Priest meme deck seems like a very high risk, like such a funny against the odds deck, but what do you do if you don't draw a Rot Priest? That is the problem I don't think I've seen anyone solve. When you draw the Rot Priest and win the die roll, life is good, but what happens if you don't draw it? All right. Eventually, our opponent decides to phase out the Venerated Rot Priest. Well, we will play a land and Infectious Inquiry and pass the turn. Opponent, land off the top. Well, Venser's nice if we can get it down. It's a blocker. Opponent hits us up to 5 and passes. Well, we'll play the land. We'll play the Venser. I think we just pass. The Rot Priest is no longer going to be able to keep attacking us. We are up to 5 poison counters, so maybe our opponent can get there by targeting it. March of Burgeoning Life. Wow, this is max meme mode. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to work, but what do you do if you don't draw the Rot Priest? Like, that question is still not answered. Yeah, so I mean, our opponent, they drew the Rot Priest, and it's cool to see that it can work. Like, if you get the draw, it can work, so it's nice to see that. Imagine this hand without the Rot Priest. It is literally... Hey, well done, opponent. I mean, it's cool to see opponents getting against the odds kills, that's for sure. That's one of the fun things about the earliest days of the format. Budget magic time. Phyrexia is here, sort of. And we are playing some blue-black Proliferate control. This hand's interesting. We're missing, well, that's good. I was gonna say we're missing the first poison counter, but we can get it with Infectious Inquiry, hopefully. A Venser for our opponent. Sure, so they get a Venser. We kill the Venser. Play the land. Draw some cards, get that all-important first poison counter. The first one's so important because that's the one that turns on all of our proliferate effects. Play the land, pass the turn. Opponent, Shipwreck Marsh. Well, Experimental Augury. Take an Augury, proliferate. Play the land and pass the... Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's just pass. We can pass the turn, we can proliferate and counter something if they have like Phyrexia here. All right, so proliferate, take the card draw, counter the Phyrexia. And then, I mean, I think we just probably untap and play our own Phyrexia, full price. Yeah, ours is gonna start proliferating. Opponent, would you like a counter? Up to 4. The clock is at 4, and it's gonna keep ticking up. Opponent plays a land, Eternal Wander. So opponent might be like Esper, I guess it's just Esper Control. All right, makes a Samurai. Well, we will Phyrexia proliferate. Give you a counter. Draw a couple cards. Drowned and Ichor the token. Proliferate. Draw a couple cards. Play the land. I guess draw a couple cards, give you a poison counter. Discard Darkslick Shores. All right. I mean, that's a Phyrexia at 9. 9 poison counters. All right, opponent's gonna bounce it. Make a Samurai. Play a land. Staff of Completion. All right. Draws a card. I mean, I guess we're not really dealing damage, so another Venser, sure. Opponents hit 7. Can we win here? Not quite. 7, 8, 9. We're 1 short. Play Venser. Kill our opponent's Venser. Play the land. Pass the turn. Wow, pays 4 down to 10. I mean, I guess because we're trying to poison, our opponent's kind of free to spend a lot of life on this staff. We're in pretty excellent shape, though. I mean, we're at 14. We're 1 poison counter short of lethal. We have a hard counter if our opponent has anything good. Sure. They're adding a lot of counters to the Wanderer, but it's not doing much. Opponents, all right, there you go. There's the double strike. Vraska, well, we will counter that. Opponent's down to 1 card in hand. Yeah, let's, all right, see if we can win here. Okay, 8 poison counters, 9 poison counters, we're 1 short. Okay, oh, it's an annoying with deflection, that's fine. Get rid of that. This also should work. Opponent's 1 poison counter away. Wrath the board. All we need is a single Proliferate. We have the Vraska in hand. Our opponent knows about it. They have to counter it. They got to stop it. If it proliferates, our opponent is dead. They are straight up dead. Opponent's doing all this proliferating, but it's not doing much. Like, they haven't got counters on anything. So I'm not sure. I guess they're just trying to proliferate on Planeswalkers, but Eternal Wanderer doesn't work that well with that. They can draw with the staff. Yeah, draws with staff down to 6. It is Super Friends, essentially. So opponent's gonna go dig in for a Planeswalker. So Proliferate also works pretty well with that. The staff is looking really good here, although I think that's partly because we have not dealt any real damage. We have, all of the damage we have dealt has been these poison counters to Fairy, sure. But isn't this just death to Vraska? Proliferate, give you the last point. Opponent's at 9, the clock is at 9. Opponent untaps a staff, draws a card, proliferates. I mean, I guess they could put a Planeswalker into play with the next lore counter if they... Okay, proliferates, there's assembles the Titans and a Samurai. After all that, you know what? Let's win with Vraska. Let's win with Vraska. Play the Planeswalker. Down to 6. Take it up. And I think we have out-proliferated our opponent there. Proliferate control, coming through again. Coming through again. This pile of commons and uncommons does not look like it should work, but it kind of does. Aggro can be tricky sometimes. If we run into dedicated aggro, we've seen dedicated aggro, that can be a bit of a challenge, but in general, opponent on the play, well, we'll see. We got 2 removal spells, which is good. Hello. Oh boy, all right. Oh, Venerated Rot Priest. Venerated Rot Priest. And the tap land goes attacking. Well, play the land, kill a Rot Priest, get 2 poison counters. Opponent untaps. Yeah, these are these are the matchups where being on the draw is real tough. Play the land. Yeah, I mean, I think we're just gonna die here. Draw a couple cards. We really need that poison counter so we can start proliferating, but double Rot Priest on the play. Pretty aggro start. Another viral spawning. Opponent hits us. Up to 7. Is there any way out of this? So we can kill 1 thing, but then there's still these 2 beasts that we can't stop. So I guess we have to play this. Play the land. Ikra Beast. Get a poison counter. But I don't think this is enough. Infectious Bite. Yep. And we were just talking about going into this match how if you run into aggro, especially if they get to be on the play, and double especially if they draw a double Venerated Rot Priest. Budget magic time. We are playing some blue-black Proliferate control in Phyrexia Standard, and opponent appears to be a toxic deck on the play. Opponent plays a Seed Core and another Billows Skull Dweller gets and hits us. Play the land, play Voidwing Hybrid, yeah. Opponent, real mana, and March of Wretched Sorrow. Hits and hits us to, hits us for up to 3 poison. Yeah, I mean, I think we just draw a couple cards. Hit our land drops, pass the turn. Opponent gets in. Up to 5 passes. They could have removal. We would like to Venser Anoint with Affliction. Let's do it this way. Or Venser Drown with Ichor. Let's play Voidwing Hybrid. Just pass the turn. I think this is the safest bet. We can Anoint with Affliction one of the Skull Dwellers. We can block the other one. Drowned and Ichor. All right, well, we will get rid of a Skull Dweller. Kills our hybrid, proliferates, up to 6, up to 7. Opponent can pump, but it doesn't really matter because it's still only 1 toxic. So we drop to 10. But now we untap. Venser. We drowned in Ichor. Proliferate, give you a poison counter. Get the Venser Golem. Get back both of our Void Wings. Play the land past the turn. Okay, can they just proliferate us out is the question. Archfiend of Dross. And, okay, kills a Venser. I mean, thankfully we have this Phyrexia. Underground River, Phyrexia, full price. And, I think I would rather that Archfiend maybe just be a treasure token. Ooh, opponent's winning the poison battle at the moment. Although I don't think we're in that bad a shape because I think our opponent's about out of action. Opponent gave us the treasure. I appreciate that. Proliferate you. Yeah, sure. Counter on the Archfiend treasure. Underground River, Voidwing. Also Voidwing. Hit you with the Golem past the turn. Wow, opponent almost did the Phyrexian handoff thing. They were super close. Yeah, that cannot resolve. Yeah, we will spend the life to get rid of that. You know they got fight spells. You know we saw fight spells. Opponent passes. Well, Phyrexia. Proliferate. Add counters to everything. I guess we should have played the Venser probably to get lifelink. Hit ya. That's another Seed Core. Play the Field of Ruin. Opponent's at 6. Well, I mean, this was a punt, but no reason in punting again. Play the Venser, pass the turn. Opponent. Another Obliterator. Well, I mean, even if they fight, we only have to sack 3 permanents. It's not that many. Yeah, let's blow up the Seed Core in the deck. Get a land. Oh, that might actually do it. Phyrexia. We're going for the win. We're going for the win. There's no fear here. Proliferate, draw a card. Lifelink flying. Hit you in the air. Opponent. Oh, up to 9. Prologue. Oh, take that last poison counter and we survive. Oh, that was a close one. Obliterator. We already saw the Bushwhack. We saw the fight spell. That is a spicy brew, I will say. Definitely respect to our opponent for the spice. Got a lot going on. We had some like Fateful Handoff with Archfiend. We had a bunch of 1-drop infect creatures. We got Obliterator and fight spells. That's like just jam all the cool synergies together and hope for the best. And it almost worked. Our opponent actually did Fateful Handoff. The Archfiend, it was just a little late because we had treasured it, but the deck's sweet. Wow, there's so much toxic today. Toxic format. Toxic. They always say that Magic players are toxic. Apparently Phyrexia is proving all those critics right. So what did we learn this week about blue-black poison proliferate control in Phyrexia All Will Be One standard? The deck worked really well. So we were playing on early access day. Always take early access day with a grain of salt, in part because it's best to one and die roll plays into it, in part because everyone's trying brew. So the meta thankfully doesn't look like normal standard meta. It's not just like, hey, shielded every round or whatever. You see a lot of people trying different things. Overall, the deck felt surprisingly effective for a budget deck. We did get to see the good and bad of it, where we did struggle with super aggro decks. There's a lot of people playing like Venerated Rot Priest toxic aggro, and those decks, especially if our opponent wins a die roll, and double especially if they start on Rot Priest into a 2-drop, it's hard for us to catch up. Like, one of the things this deck is missing is a sweeper. We don't really have a sweeper. We kind of have like the sideboard sweeper, but that doesn't help in best of one, but that's just malicious malfunction, so it's not a great sweeper. It's only good against like really dedicated aggro. So we're kind of missing a Damnation style sweeper in the deck. One possibility is in non-budget form to go into white and be like this same deck but in Esper, just to gain access to like Farewell or whatever sweeper that you want to just be able to reset the board, which would be really, really nice in the deck. It would help against those swarmy style aggro toxic style decks that we saw. On the other hand, if we weren't losing the die roll to aggro, the deck felt really good. We just kind of like have decent threats in Venser and Voidwing. They were both very impressive. Verosco was absurd when we got time to get it down. And then all of our spells are so good. In some ways, and this is kind of scary, in some ways, it reminds me of like Energy. Do you remember Energy when it was so strong in Standard? And part of what made the Energy mechanic so good is you played already good cards and they just actually accidentally made Energy as well. So you were already playing like cards that you didn't mind having in your deck, and as a bonus you got Energy. You weren't really paying any tax on Energy. A lot of these Proliferate cards and Poison cards kind of feel the same way, where you're playing effects that are already good enough that you don't mind playing them in your deck, and then as a bonus you're giving your opponent a poison counter, you're proliferating poison counters. So it's not like we got to play a bunch of bad overcosted stuff to try to make this plan work. We're playing a lot of cards that we kind of want to play anyway, and it's executing our game plan. Like, we don't even really need a finisher in the deck. That's the funniest thing about this deck. I guess Vraska is like sort of a finisher, but really the finisher to our deck is Experimental Augury and Prologue to Phyrexia and our random like Rejecting Perfection counter spells, just all these random Proliferate cards. And when you add them all together, it's actually a pretty effective plan. So anyway, that's blue-black poison Proliferate control. That's our budget magic for this week. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.